Okay, hello, and welcome back to part 2. Or welcome to part 2. Oh shoot, I don't even think I talked about who wrote it in the first one. I'm super sorry. I'll give them some fucking props, but it was user AsDeathBeckons, which okay, so I found my suicide note from years ago. I didn't write it. Part 2. And then he just got a text from his mom saying, "You found it, didn't you?" I stared at my phone screen, the only source of light in my pitch black bedroom. I was frozen in shock, not sure what to say or do. This wasn't right. It was well past 2 in the morning. My mother had never texted me this late before. I let the screen fade to black, and I was once again submerged in darkness. The creak of my fan spinning above me only put me more on edge, and I remained lying in bed, completely numb. That's literally me every time I hear something in my room, and it's not my cat. I'm just and then my fan is and I'm like, is that the fan or the demon? Surely she hadn't noticed that I had discovered this little piece of paper that had been hidden away in an old comic book for more than a decade. What the hell were the chances of that? Then again, my father had definitely noticed my discomfort and skittishness in the attic. I was even more anxious now. Maybe my mother was talking about something else. Maybe she was referring to the comic book itself. The people in the comments are so fucking smart. The comic book itself, or something that she thought may have been of value to me or worth taking notice. That still doesn't explain why she needed to text me about something so trivial at 2:30 in the morning. My phone buzzed again, the screen illuminating my face and making my hand jerk in surprise. My phone flew into the air and I leapt, catching it before it could land on the floor. I looked at the next message. "You awake, hon?" No, Mom, I am not awake. I decided at that moment I would leave her on unread all night and reply in the morning. I knew how suspicious it would be if I responded at this time of night, even if I played dumb. A good night's rest was needed anyway for me to deal with this dilemma that was now at the forefront of my mind. I placed my phone on my nightstand and pulled my covers tightly around myself. I don't know when sleep came, but I woke to the sound of my phone buzzing once again very soon after. An immense torrent of dread poured down on me as I read the message. I didn't want to have the number 2 do this. No, this had gone way too far. This was my mother texting me, for crying out loud. It was time to man up, and get to the bottom of this. I unlocked my screen and tapped Mom to call her. That was when I heard my mother's melodic ringtone down the stairs. She was in my house. Shit's getting good. Coughs up phlegm, drinks more dairy. The mother is in the house. I sat up in bed, terror engulfing me like it had never done so before. I heard the sound of heavy footsteps rushing quickly up the stairs along with the ringtone, which played like a swan song for my final moments. Is he gonna die? I heard the sound of heavy footsteps rushing quickly up the stairs along with the ringtone, which played like a swan song. Oh! I was thinking he ran down the stairs, but he heard heavy footsteps. He's got a heavy mom. Your mom's fat. Final moments. Okay. I had nothing to defend myself with. My dad had guns, but I had never wanted to touch one of those things before in my life. I tried to hop out of bed, maybe find a hiding spot, but in my haste in the dark, I slipped, my phone flying through the air and landing on the other side of the room. See, now he can't call the police. My bedroom door burst open and I heard someone run in. What the fuck? I was hit in the mouth, and judging by the power behind the blow, I knew I was dealing with a man. Women can be strong too. I kicked out, trying to knock him off his feet, but he came down on me, striking me twice in the face. I threw a punch of my own blindly in the dark and connected with what I was sure was the man's throat. The last thing I remember hearing was him cough before he knocked me out. I woke the next day feeling groggy as hell. My head was ringing and there was dry blood on my mouth. The sunlight streaming in through the curtains did not remedy the situation. I sat up slowly, looking all around the room to see whether or not I was alone. It seemed that I was. The first thing I needed to do was call the police. Looking across the room, however, I saw that my phone was gone. That made my head hurt even more. Glancing towards my nightstand where I had stashed the suicide note, I saw that it was wide open. Now my head was surely going to burst open. Someone who had been carrying my mother's phone had actually come into my house, assaulted me, and stolen my phone and the suicide note. This was too much. I knew I needed to record this somewhere. I needed to before I suffered any memory loss from the beating I had taken. I went down to the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and walked around my house just to be sure my assailant had left. Nothing was out of place or stolen. Whoever had come in the night had thrown a rock through one of my windows, but the hole was barely large enough to fit a person inside. This didn't make any sense. Why hadn't I heard it smashing? Then I noticed the back door. I was nearly 100% sure that I had locked it the day before. Now, however, it was unlocked. I knew I needed to contact the police immediately. I went to my laptop and hurriedly recorded the series of events up to this point. Upon finishing up, I walked over to my neighbor's house, an ice bag held to my forehead. I used his phone to call the cops, and he let me sit on his porch as he waited for them to arrive. When they did, they asked me a series of questions about what exactly had happened. This was the most difficult part for me. I wasn't sure how the person who had taken my mother's phone had gotten in the house, whether they were sent by her, or if it was even my dad I had been fighting the night before. What's happening? But I love my parents. I didn't want to drag them into this or incriminate them yet. Your mom's phone was in the house though, so like she's involved. Or like knows someone involved, you know, like she's not completely innocent, that's all I'm saying. So I lied. I told the cops I had no clue who would want to steal my phone. I made no mention of the note. They dusted for fingerprints on my back door and let the medical team patch me up. Once I was cleared, the officers gave me a card with my case number and told them that they'd keep a squad car in the area. And told me they'd keep a squad car in the area. I knew what I had to do next, even if I didn't want to. I drove to my parents' place and was surprised to see that there were a couple of cop cars sitting in their driveway as well. Fear stabbed at me like a cold knife as I darted out of my car into the open front door. One of the cops standing near the stairs spun around and raised a gun. Freeze! Put the damn gun down, that's my son, my father yelled angrily, and I could see him, my mother, my brother Mac, and my nephew Elliot all at the kitchen table. There were 3 officers there, in addition to the one pointing the gun at me. He lowered it and looked at me sternly. You don't run into a crime scene like that. That's how people get hurt. A crime scene? Mom, Dad, is everything okay? Mom was still in her bathrobe. Elliot was looking down at a coloring book, flipping through the pages, and Mac was shaving. Someone broke into the house last night, muttered my dad, his eyes piercing. Mac was helping me finish the attic, so he, Eli or Ellie? I don't know, Elliot without the it. Ellie? Spent the night here. Thank God that bastard didn't hurt my grandson, or I never would have been able to forgive myself. That's my fault, Dad, mumbled Mac, his voice hoarse. I went outside for a smoke and forgot to lock the back door. It was too easy for that asshole to come in here. But the brother does not live at home, and his back door was unlocked. Dun dun dun. He stole our phones and the Blu-ray player from the living room, said my mom, staring down at the floor. He must have been planning to take the TV too, because he came back. Mac was going to the bathroom and ran into the guy. He fought him, but the guy got away. He was careful and very methodical. None of us heard a thing until the altercation. What if it was the brother? And like he was like thinking that like what if it... Never mind. I looked at my brother. He had cuts on both arms, and glancing over at the smashed glass that had been on the coffee table, I could see why. Mac's right fist was busted as hell, swelling up. Oh, busted as well, swelling up badly. The police officers took a look at the card that the other officers had given me for my incident, took a few more notes, then left. Mac had refused medical attention. My mother hugged me as my father stood shaking his head. Mac held Elliot close, as though afraid someone might come back into the house. Did you text me last night, Mom, before your phone was stolen? Her eyes narrowed as she looked at me. No, honey, I didn't. We all sat in silence for a moment. Hulk smash, giggled Elliot loudly, and that was when I noticed what book he was flipping through. It was my Incredible Hulk comic. Was it Elliot? And he's like, Jack, Jack. Also, I do think it was weird that like the exact same thing happened, and it was like the brother left the parents' front door unlocked, and then like our guy, Darby. What an awful name. Sorry. AsDeathBeckons. I'm not a fan of the name Darby. But like at Darby's house, the back door was unlocked, and then the brother was like, oh yeah, I went out and took a smoke and left the back door unlocked. But they're like different houses, but like what if they're the same house or something? I don't know. Jack, Jack, attack. Elliot, Elliot, attack. See you in part 3.